delay our visual presentation for a moment because instead of actually presenting, I should be the one taking the classes to figure out how to do this. So just hang tight on the visuals. But for now, I want to introduce the two young ladies that you probably have heard a lot about, Jamie and Allie McMutrie. I'm Vivian, and I am Operations Director for Haitian Families First in Pittsburgh. I'm very fortunate to be a part of their organization, not only as supporters, but as a friend. It really means a lot to me to be a part of what they do. It's really amazing. And the strides that they've made in the past 10 years is just really incredible. So we'll touch on that a little bit. And then we'll show you some images and get to the real meat of the presentation, which is the social media component. This presentation is entitled Using Social Media to Meet Immediate Nonprofit Needs. If any of you work in the nonprofit realm, you know how funding goes. Sometimes you need funding immediately, and that's one of the things that we've run into lately. With Allie being back in the U.S. for a little while to help focus on fundraising, reestablishing a media presence, one of the things that we were able to incorporate was a lot of social media, because a lot of our friends are on Twitter and Facebook, and we're really thankful for that. So I think one of the things that we'll start off by talking about is how we were able to initiate a new social media presence and really dig into fundraising on the grassroots level. Just want to let you know that Jamie is here. She's up from Haiti. She's in the audience, so say hello to her. And without further ado, I present co-founder, co-president of Haitian Families First, Allie McMutrie.
Thank you so much. That was quite the introduction. Thanks, Viv. Yeah, it's kind of funny to have technical difficulties at this kind of thing, but this is our first time at Podcamp. We're excited to be here, so thanks for your attention and for having us. I'll start just by kind of saying it's probably clear that I am no social media expert by any means. My sister pointed out that at the time of the earthquake just 2 years ago, we shared a flip phone. I think it was like a Nokia, something that probably hasn't been in the United States in like 10 years. So what I'm going to talk about today just comes really from my experience, because that's all I can share with you, and hopefully you can learn something from it. And please feel free to interject if you have questions or just want to jump in, and this is an open dialogue between me and you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the biggest impact that social media has had on our needs, which was our rescue from Haiti after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti. So you probably, if you know anything about our story, that's probably what you know. At the time of the earthquake, my sister and I were in charge of about 150 kids in Haiti. And I won't tell the long story of the earthquake. We can talk about that another day. But whenever the earthquake hit, all form of interaction outside of Haiti was down. There was no cell service, no internet service for several days. And in that time, we didn't know what we were going to do. We were kind of trying to figure out how we were going to keep the kids safe and fed and happy, and not so much thinking about social media. But whenever we were able to get in touch with our family and our friends, mostly in Pittsburgh, but in other parts of the United States, it was by borrowing a friend's BlackBerry that for some odd reason had picked up a signal for this one part of the day, like 3 days after the earthquake. So we hurried up and we wrote a quick message. I think we sent it to our dad, but we said, get this out to whoever you can. We need help. We need immediate help. Water and food and shelter, as our home had been destroyed and we were running low on supplies. But then even more so, we were asking that the kids be airlifted out of Haiti, because all the kids in our care were in the process of being adopted to the United States or other countries. I have visuals, so I'll catch up whenever we get this figured out, but we were living in the driveway. We had no place for the kids to stay. So we sent off that message, and Jamie and I went back to the house and had no idea what was going on, and then interaction was down for another several hours or so. And it was in the middle of that night that all of a sudden our phone rang for the first time in 3 days, and we saw the name of somebody from the States. and we're just ecstatic that it was even ringing. And when we picked up the phone, I just remember sitting there and I had this notebook with these notes I was taking, because the person on the other line was telling me everything that had been happening in the last 24 hours or so, which was word had gotten out to a few local bloggers here in Pittsburgh. The most important one was That's Church. Virginia Montanez had become a friend of ours just a few months before the earthquake. She came to our fundraiser, and she happened to say, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. And probably didn't expect to have to save our lives after an earthquake, but she really came through. So she put word out on her blog, and from there, it kind of just spiraled. And by the time Jamie and I heard about what was going on, there had been, several thousands of retweets of this message that, two local Pittsburgh girls and the kids that they're caring for need our help. And it was just a matter of someone taking that initiative and getting the message out, and then other people catching on. It even got the attention of some celebrities. Channing Tatum and Alyssa Milano were the ones that stuck out in our minds that caught on to this message just by reading a few blogs. I think it was important that it wasn't just one person saying, here's my connection to these girls in Haiti, but there were several people from different areas who were all saying, this is the need, and it was something tangible that people could do to help. And whenever I say that, I'm probably not being very clear. What we needed was to get the message out that we needed help, because we knew that people, just local people who have a Twitter account or have a Facebook, they couldn't save us. They didn't have the authority to rescue 150 kids from Haiti. But we knew that if we got that message out there, which is the power of social media, if it was in the people's faces, the people who could make those decisions, that something would ultimately come of it. At least we hoped. So over the next 4 more days after we first got that initial message out, my sister and I were not in very good contact with people in the States, but the people who were kind of overseeing things here in Pittsburgh just kept sending that message out, kept retweeting. They created a Facebook page that was something like Save the Children from Haiti, and we had almost 20,000 people join that group. And basically it got to the point where the higher-ups couldn't ignore it. So what eventually happened is people in the government who had the power to make the decision to let the kids leave Haiti, they heard about it, and they were pressured, I guess, by our friends and our family, and not even just that, but people that we had never even met or known. So I think that right there is one of the most impactful stories that I've ever heard, let alone been a part of how social media can affect an immediate need. Because it was January 12th that the earthquake struck, and by January 19th, we were all back in Pittsburgh with all of the kids as a result of that big push that came from our followers on social media. So that was pretty incredible. And I feel bad that you guys are just looking at me up here being a boring American girl, but I have all these great photos, so I'll be sure to share them, and if you want to stick around, if we don't have time, I'd be glad to share with you. The next thing that I'll move into, and just to quickly catch you up to where we are now, because that was 2.5 years ago. So since then, my sister and I have continued to work in Haiti. At this point, we've developed our own nonprofit organization called Haitian Families First. And we're there full-time working to preserve families, to provide options to families who are going through rough times, usually due to poverty, and provide them options to be able to stay together as families. Kind of like basic social services, but Jamie and I are very, very involved with the families we work with. So right now we have about 40 families, more than 80 kids in our program. And the next kind of situation that I'll share with you is when we came to a point a few months ago where we were kind of struggling, having to cut costs. And looking at our programs, we have a lot of our kids really depend on our programs for survival. So we provide formula and additional nutrition for kids who are malnourished and sickly. We provide hospital care, and medical supplies for sick kids. And then we have our education program, where we help kids with tuition costs and other fees that go along with going to school, because in Haiti, all schools are private. There's no public schooling system. So if you aren't able to pay for it, you don't get to go to school. And I don't know the number of kids that don't get to go to school. Is it 80-some%?
It was 85 before last year when they, I think, 20% more.
Okay.
But no one has a real number of this year.
So a good guess, probably 70 to 80% of kids in Haiti just simply don't get to go to school, which obviously is, gets into reasons why the country is in the state that it's in. So one of our main focuses is to help get kids to school and help get them educated, as every child deserves to be. But when we realized that we were having trouble coming up with the funds to pay for our 46 school-age kids who were in our program, we kind of realized we needed to do something, and we needed to do something pretty quickly to raise the money. So when we broke it down, because we were looking at this big number, close to $10,000 that we needed to raise, and we were looking at social media to do it, but going back to our sponsors and our supporters in general are not the type of people who can write $1,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 checks. We have a lot of supporters who help us in smaller ways, the $5, $10, $15 checks, which I personally think is incredible. I think that's amazing, because I know that's the kind of donor I would be if I was donating to an organization. That's something that is doable for people like me, for my peers. So we kind of broke down the cost, and we looked at our education program and figured out that it's an average of $180 to send a kid to school for an entire year. And that covers their tuition, their books, their uniforms, and a small snack for every day at school for a whole year. So when we looked at it like that, we thought, okay, this is doable. This is something that people can wrap their head around. It's a number that is realistic. And so we decided to go on the Twitter route for this campaign. And we wanted to give it, something that would catch people's attention, a name that would stick in people's minds. So, and of course, the hashtag thing is so popular. So we called it 46 and 46. And we set a goal for ourselves of sending these 46 kids to school in 46 days, hoping to get at least one sponsor for each kid every day. And so I think we have it on here. Our initial tweet that we sent out was just very basic. We have 46 kids who need to go to school this year. It's $180 to send them for each child. Will you help? Will you be a part of it? And we let that kind of sink in, and a little bit later in the day, we put out a little profile that we had created for one individual child. So this profile had a photo of the child and their name, and just a couple of little stats about them, what their favorite subject is or what grade they're in school, and said, will you sponsor me? Will you help me go to school this year? So after that, I think it was 3 days or so of I didn't sleep for 3 nights, because the sponsors just started coming in that quickly that I could hardly keep up with the people who wanted to get on board and sponsor kids solely through using Twitter. And one of the things that we found, we don't even have that many followers on our Haitian Families First account, but we got, again, a lot of people retweeting it. And if somebody went ahead and sponsored a child, then we immediately sent them the profile of the child that they were sponsoring, so that they were able to take some kind of ownership of their sponsorship, and feel a real personal connection to that child that they were helping. So it's not this, far off, distant thing. It was very, very real to them. And I think that sparked a lot more interest. Whenever somebody said, my name's Allie and I'm sending Monica to school this year, it became a lot more real. And one more thing that we encourage people to do is, if $180 was too big of a number, to team up with some friends or some family and kind of pitch in. So I had, 8 of my friends all pitch in, and they all sponsor a kid. And they all have their picture on their refrigerator, and we send updates about that child to the sponsor. So one of the things that we learned is you just have to ask for it, And basically the worst thing that could have happened is we didn't reach our goal, we didn't get all of our sponsors, but at the very least we would have gotten some of them, which is better than nothing. And we found that whenever you give people something very specific and give them a lot of details and really personify it, people are just more than willing to get on board and to be supportive and helpful. It just comes down to knowing what to ask for and being bold enough to ask for it. We reached our goal of sending 46 kids to school in 6 days. We reached it so quickly that I actually had to travel down to Haiti to help my sister with enrollments and registration because it was so much to handle that we were kind of unprepared for at the time. So yeah, now there's 46 kids in school for an entire year, and there's probably 60 or 70 people, mostly in the Pittsburgh area, but elsewhere also, who are now connected to those kids, who next year, whenever it comes time to enroll in school, will most likely be more than willing to continue to support those kids because now they have a very real connection with them. And like I said, we continue our, dialogue and interaction with the sponsors, and that's really, really important. Even just on Twitter, we finally now have someone who's almost full-time taking care of that because people who are giving back now to nonprofits, they really expect that interaction, that back and forth, and for it not to feel like it's this organization, but to feel more like it's a group of people that you're supporting, and it is. It's my sister and Vivian and I and everyone else who's on board. So making it very personal seems to be very, very important from our recent experience. There's a lot of other ways that social media has met our immediate needs. For example, we're dealing with a need for formula right now. We have 30-some kids in our formula program who are in that program either because their mothers have died in childbirth or they're just not around, or for some reason, for a medical reason, they're unable to breastfeed. And we provide formula for those children. We used to have a sponsor it was a big corporate sponsor that provided formula for us, and we lost that. That contact fell through. So now we're finding ourselves in desperate need of formula and spending a lot of our budget on formula. So we kind of put the word out, again, on local blogs, Twitter, and Facebook, that we need formula. And I put my parents' address, and every single day boxes are showing up on our step with just cans of formula. People who had some cans in their pantry, and they had a couple too many, and their kids grew out of it. They're sending it. Some people are going out and buying it and sending it to us, or ordering it directly from the stores and sending it to us. Something really awesome that I just found out about is that another presenter here at Podcamp has put out the word that she's going to be accepting formula donations at her session this weekend for people who are going to be around anyways. So she's going to be collecting, and I think she's also going to match it. So I'm not sure how that's going to look, but do you know?
Yeah, tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, if you're around for that session, I can pull it up, the title of the presenter. But yeah, she is matching donation for donation.
Yeah, and that was literally, I think it was 2 days ago that we put out the word that we were going to be here at Podcamp and that we had this need, this specific need, and just like that, a portion of it is met. It doesn't, solve our formula problem. We're going to keep pursuing our other options, but things like that, really for such a small organization as ours, is what keeps us going and kind of fills in those times, those tough times. We've had times whenever we put out the word that we need other basic supplies like bottles and nipples and other basic things for babies, and it's almost scary to ask if you're not ready to receive it, if you don't have a place for it. And again, it's not that we have this huge following, because we really don't. We had a lot of attention after the earthquake, but it's kind of died down. We're working on getting back to the point where people really recognize our name and know who we are. But it comes down to this community in Pittsburgh and their willingness to share and to help us promote what we are and who we are and what we need, and really meet these needs for us, and all we have to do is know what to ask for and go ahead and make that ask. And people have really, really stepped up and supported us through that. What am I forgetting, guys?
Well, a lot of this takes place here because you live and work in Haiti full time. So having a support staff and a team to help you has been really important.
Yeah, that's a good point. Jamie and I
to communicate with you guys, and then you use social media, because in Haiti, communication is always down. So if I can communicate with Allie or Vivian, and then they're getting what I'm doing in Haiti out there, so everyone cares about that.
Yeah, that's kind of key. And you know, I know we're all from different backgrounds and working on different nonprofit needs. For us specifically being in Haiti, I'm sure you can imagine there's pretty much next to no communication. It's very unreliable. If a storm rolls through like this week, you can't even get in touch with us down there. There's times that it works perfectly, but you can never really know. So it's kind of key to have a group on the ground here or wherever you're based that you're pretty much in constant communication with the person on the ground elsewhere so that they can communicate the needs to us. For now, I'm here full-time in Pittsburgh working on this, but that won't last forever. But when I'm gone, we have our support group now here in Pittsburgh who are ready to speak on our behalf and ready to represent us when we need to be represented. So I really, really hope y'all have some questions for me because I kind of flew through those couple of things. Yes.
You mentioned your parents' address for the formula. So you're sending out a tweet, and then it links back to your website, I'm assuming, that then has all the information about what you're looking for.
Right now, the way it is, we have a blogger friend, Berg Baby, probably heard of. She kind of took this formula project on as a project of her own. So she went ahead and wrote up a post explaining the need, explaining the specifics, and explaining how people could help. So that's where the information, and I think we have it on our website, on our blog as well, but that's kind of where we're directing people to specific.
A champion who can help promote your interests.
Exactly. Okay. And that's huge too because we have so much going on that it really is key to have people, I love that word, to champion for us and take something on so that, you know, we're not constantly thinking of a million different things that are happening because there's tons of people being a part of our effort right now, so it's important to have a lot of people step up, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just this question, how do you get all the stuff down there?
We just take it down when
On
we
a
get,
plane?
in general, yeah,
Cargo. Wow.
yeah.
So when we have a lot, it's worth it to ship a container. So we've done that before, but
Only like twice before.
right. So normally it's when people come and bring fresh.
Yeah, the airlines love us.
How many people actually work with you in Haiti, on the ground helping you with kids?
We have, Jamie and I are the only Americans down there, and then is it 8? We have a staff of 8 Haitian employees. So we have some people that are doing like social work, working with the families in the communities that we work in. We have one guy that specifically does family tracing for kids who have been abandoned or are left. So there's 10 of us right now.
How many were there when the earthquake happened?
Oh man, 40 or 50. Yeah, at this point, it looks very different than the earthquake time. We had an orphanage at that time. We had the 150 or so kids that were in our care were full-time in our care. Now our work is more working to keep those same kind of kids in their families. Because so often the reason that they're separated is something too simple and something solvable. They just need to be worked with and provided options. So instead of, you know, our employees now aren't nannying and taking care of kids that are living with us. Instead, they're out on the ground in the field working with the families that we're helping.
One more question about social media and where you are. When you had your flip phone and before the earthquake happened, Were you already pretty familiar with Facebook and Twitter as a medium?
Facebook, yes. Twitter, I had no idea. No idea. So I don't know if that's crazy. Like, that was in early 2010. I feel like we were just kind of out of it, being down in Haiti, being so separated from stuff like that. Facebook, I had definitely used to keep in touch with friends. But we didn't, as far as our work with the orphanage and with that organization, we didn't use social media at all. At all. Yeah, whenever we were getting the calls saying what people were doing, it actually took some explaining to get us to understand what that meant and how it was having such an impact. Because it was hard to like wrap your mind around that we had asked for this thing. It was pretty crazy to ask for. I mean, we said send a plane down and rescue us. I think we were kind of kidding.
Yeah.
I don't think we actually thought that would happen. So just to like grasp that it did. To be very honest with you, it's been more than 2.5 years, and I would say just in the last few months, I've really come to understand what happened in that week outside of Haiti that led to the rescue and all of that. So there's a lot. It's not as simple as a tweet went out and people retweeted it. It's just a matter of getting the word out and all of the things that can come from that. And it's pretty incredible. I remember when my sister moved to Haiti in 2003, we went 6 months without talking because there was no way to do so. So I think back, and if the earthquake had happened a couple of years prior, everything would be completely different. Our whole outcome and our whole life would be completely different if it weren't for social media.
Have you ever tried to map like the course of that tweet? And so see, I mean, from when you sent it, and kind of look at the retweets, but also kind of in the chain, like who talked to who. Like who was it that talked to someone that kicked off something over here that eventually made it, made it to the State Department?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to follow that chain? Because I feel like it would be really interesting to see laid out.
I never have. I don't even know where I would start, but yeah.
It's a really powerful way to really show the power. I mean, I just use power twice. A very impactful way to show the power of a tweet. So it started with this and look what it became.
I'm gonna get my social media guy. I think he's watching right now. Yeah.
You probably said that I didn't catch the initial message that you sent out. How did it go out? Was this a text message?
Excuse me. It was an email on a BlackBerry. And we still to this day don't know why that BlackBerry happened to pick up a signal. Basically, all of the towers had fallen, and
It was a foreign signal, and it was only for a few hours after. And it was only that BlackBerry. A few BlackBerries, but not every.
yeah, so it was just an email. And like I said, I think it was to my dad, but with the title, get it to everyone, And at that time, I think already whenever they received that message, I think the earthquake was on the 12th and that was on the 14th. And the local news media had already heard, it's a small enough town, and enough people knew that Jamie and I were working in Haiti to know, to be concerned and wonder if we were okay. So I think the local news media had already reached out to my family. So whenever my family actually had something to report, that really helped move things along pretty quickly because there was already that interest. Anybody else?
Yeah. Have most of the requests that you've put out been an immediate need, or have you done more handful holidays are coming and we know we're going to need this, or spring is really rainy so we know we're going to need that?
That's a great question too. Yeah, we're working we have put out requests that are not immediate. So we're asking for sponsors for all of our children. Very similar to the education program, but for each, we have our nutrition and our health and wellness program as well. So we do have, our list of email subscribers, and then of course our Facebook page and our Twitter followers who, actually I'm not sure that we have done that on Twitter specifically, but who we've reached out to for just basic sponsorship options, which are a year-round thing, And then we're working on a campaign that I'm really excited about that we're probably going to kick off early next month. That's going to be kind of holiday themed, and hopefully. Does that mean I don't get to show you? Yeah. I'm sorry, you guys. Like we said, we are totally not media people, so my picture might be weird. Yeah.
Do you have any connection with global links?
Yeah.
Do they help you with supplies too, or?
We haven't solidified a formal partnership at this time, but yeah, we're in communication. Thank you.
Yeah, I would say in the last 3 months, one of our main focuses, and it's all been doable with social media, is connecting with other organizations in Pittsburgh specifically who are doing work in Haiti, and then also that are just doing any good work. Even just the fact that I'm here speaking is because somebody said, hey, this might be a good place for you to meet people and get your message out. And we find how important that is for a small startup organization like ours to really connect. We're all working for the same goal, even though we're in different countries or states, or we're all trying to do good, right? So it's important that we all really work together and support each other. Yeah.
Another question I asked mine when you started, like in 2003, how did you pick Haiti?
I was in college, it was my senior year of school, and I was doing a project on why children end up in orphanages. And so I volunteered for 3 months, and which is why we do what we do now, because children end up in orphanages because they're poor, not because they're orphans. And I wanted to stop that, so I decided to stay, and I liked Haiti, and I wanted to help the country move from orphanage to family preservation. And it might not happen in our lifetime, but it's what we're working towards.
Yeah, the earthquake kind of gave us, I hate to say something positive came out of it, but at the very least, the kids that were in our care were all rescued and brought to safety, and got us to a point where after 8 years, for the first time, we actually had the freedom to focus on this work, because so much of what we were doing was just focusing on the everyday of the care and well-being of the kids in our care.
And it gave us a voice, because nobody wanted to live, everyone wanted to help the orphans, nobody cared that they weren't actually orphans, and right, so it gave us an opportunity to talk, and that's all social media, because it's just people blogging about what we said and on TV, on Twitter, and all of that stuff, that finally people were willing to listen to the truth rather than just see the little kids' faces.
Yeah, and there's definitely an education aspect to what we're doing even here, because people we had to learn why we were doing what we were doing, and it took us years and years. So you can't expect people to just jump on this new vision and this plan that looks very different from what a lot of nonprofits are doing overseas, specifically in Haiti, without really educating them. So yeah, that's a good point. The earthquake gave us a platform to finally have that voice and to do so. And then the willingness of our supporters now, specifically in the Pittsburgh area, to get our message out there, to talk to us, to do Q&As, to let us stand up and talk at Podcamp whenever we have no idea what we're talking about. All of that stuff is really vital for us as an organization.
Have you ever run into, in fundraising, we've run into this where we do free surgeries in Pittsburgh, but we do them internationally and as well. And so the stuff we do in Pittsburgh is very small because so many people here have access to healthcare as opposed to overseas stuff. And I find that in terms of fundraising sometimes, there's a slight pushback sometimes, or like, why aren't you helping here? And so I'm wondering, how much of that have you guys experienced? Have you ever run into that?
I've experienced that on a personal level plenty. I don't think there's, if you have an answer, go ahead.
After the earthquake, we had to quit reading it because everything was positive, but there was a lot of negative. Oh, these girls are running to another country, and there's so many kids in Pittsburgh that could be helped. And so there were a lot of comments on blogs and like on CNN's blog, that said what we were doing was a waste of time because until Pittsburgh is fixed, why are you bothering going anywhere else? So, yeah, we've heard that a lot, but.
No, so you don't have an answer. My answer.
No, but I was like reading it.
That's not what I meant. I thought maybe.
That's okay, your sisters.
Sister rivalry. That's not what I meant at all. I don't think that there's a great answer. And what I always tell people is, because I know this to be true, for me personally, without getting too into it, on whatever level you want to see it as, it's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I know that for sure. And I know that if I was trying to do the same thing somewhere else, I wouldn't be nearly as effective, because I think we all have, I don't want to use the word calling, but that's kind of what I mean. We all have, you know, the places in our lives that we should go and that we're best suited for. And so that's the only answer I can ever come up with, is I know that this is right for me and that this is where I'm the most effective. And I hope that people who are most effective with our kids locally will step up and fill those gaps. Because I think if everybody did, everything would be fine.
Well, certainly not the people that are trolling your blog here or anything either.
I'm sorry.
It's certainly not the people that are trolling CNN and
Yeah.
everything
Not
else. They're not doing anything.
Right. Except.
And that's something different too. It's not like our organization says Asian kids are the only ones that matter.
Right.
We support local organizations. And we want to work together with people. It's the same work. You know, if Haiti is better, then Pittsburgh will be better. If the world is better, the whole world will be better. So we need to think
It was start somewhere, and yeah.
And a more traditional social media question. I'm always interested to see how the nonprofits, how you guys balance your amount of content versus your amount of asking in social media. Because I know it's very easy to be like, hey, you guys money, or hey, we need this.
Yeah.
What do you guys, what strategy do you use to balance the asking versus just the content you're putting out?
Well, I think it's really important how interactive we are, and we're just getting into this. I wouldn't even say we're that good at it yet. But being so active. So making sure that people who are really interested are really interactive with us on all of the social media options, not just one. So if we know people are specifically, Twitter people and they're following us on Twitter, we're sure to link them to everything else that we're doing on all the other things. But at the same time, I think for like the 46 and 46 specifically, we were asking, but we were sharing at the exact same time. So while we were asking them to help, we were educating them about why they were helping and teaching them what impact it was having, even like getting as specific as getting to know the child that they were helping. And I don't know if that answers your question, but I think it's important to do it together, do it at the same time. Like when you're asking, be informing them as well. Be teaching them why their $10 or $15 donation is so important. And you can do it in a fun way. Do it as a blog post or as a Q&A, or that's kind of all we've done so far. But does that help at all?
And I think that ties into the previous question. All of these campaigns and fundraising events that we host and the outreach efforts that we do, it's all about education. So it's not simply asking for funds to run a program to send children to school. People here are getting educated on what does school look like there, because we don't know that here. We all go to school for free, or we have the ability to go to a private school if we can afford it. There they have no ability to go to school at all unless they have an income that's 3 months worth a year's salary. That's how expensive it is for every child to go to school. So the educational component is what really builds the ask. So there's a lot more to it than saying, hey, donate for us. And you see the progression and the tie-in, and that goes into all the other events that we're holding to.
And most definitely, it's different for every organization, but having someone, I don't know, I always say on the ground because we're overseas, but having whoever's representing you really, really, really involved. I know that that's ideal, and that's probably how every small nonprofit organization starts, is with this great dream and commitment and passion, and then it grows, and the people who started it originally move up and become less, attached to the project. But that's one thing, and I hate talking about how great, I hate talking about myself and saying that we're doing something good, but really one thing I can say for Jamie and I is that in the 10 years we've been there, we haven't become any less attached. We are still the face of the organization, but then also the face of these people, that these families and children that we work with know. It would never be, we would never be so far away that we're unattainable or unreachable, or we're in an office somewhere where you have to email us to get a hold of us. We're very much connected to our programs and to our work in Haiti.
The hardest thing I think for us was to find somebody, which we now have Vivian, but we've spent the past 3 years looking for somebody in the United States that understood our work and could communicate that to people here. And it's because, like we said, it's very hard for us to keep up with social media while in Haiti. So we've had how many people? Like 6 people in the past 3 years that have said they wanted to do that, come down to Haiti, and then just didn't really connect. And so that's been really the hardest thing for us, was to find someone here, which is why Allie came back this year and is working very closely with our board to get them to understand, so that we have a group here that can communicate clearly what we're doing and be honest, not just Jamie and Allie are holding some babies, but what we're really doing, so that people know what's going on.
Yeah, because we need everyone on your team has to advocate for you. So to do that, they all have to be as informed as possible, So that's another part of what goes along with it, is making sure that everyone that's representing you is doing it correctly and doing it appropriately and to the best of their abilities.
10,000 villages or new campaigns.
I'm sorry.
10,000 villages or new campaigns. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I kind of mentioned our holiday campaign that if you start to follow us on social media, you'll hear all about, hopefully next week. One thing that we have in the works, and this is just another result of putting the word out there that we wanted to partner with someone, is a store called 10,000 Villages that you've probably heard of. They have a location in Squirrel, and they sell products that are made in countries all over the world by local artisans, and all the money goes back into the project. It's a really, really cool store. And every year they have a program called the Living Gifts Program, where you can purchase a gift for someone, but it's something real and living. This year they're supporting Haitian Families First, so that people can go to the store and donate to support our education program kids and also our formula program. So it's a great option for a holiday gift. I know what my whole family will be getting, and probably everyone who knows our organization will be getting. But they're kind enough to do that for us this year. So all the way through, I think through December, those will be available at 10,000 Villages. Do you have any cards for that?
Yeah, I have some cards. We have some printed information. If you want to be on our mailing list, I'll take your email address and your contact information. And if you follow us on Twitter, Haitian Fam First, it's 1ST, Haitian Fam First. Jamie and Allie tweet a lot, so you'll be talking directly with them a lot, or me, or our other social media guru, Herbie, who's located in Dallas, and Facebook page, official Haitian Families First. You'll get direct contact with the girls, whether they're here or back in Haiti.
Yeah, and if you ever want to talk to me, let me know. I was going to say that a different way, but this was kind of a very specific talk about social media and connecting. But if any of you have ways that you'd like to talk about partnering or just getting to know each other and each other's organizations, I'm going to be here for a little while, and I'd be really excited and willing to talk to y'all. And finally, a plug for our big event. Next Saturday, we're going to have a happy hour. It's called Tea Carnival, so we're bringing Haitian Carnival to Pittsburgh. And it's on Saturday the 3rd from 6 to 9. So if you're interested, I have some flyers for that too. It's at Elixir on the south side. I think that's all for me. Thank you all very much.